Hey guys, what's going on? Sadiq. Welcome to Experiences with Sadiq. Experiences with Sadiq is about all things real estate. A show where communication is key, advocating for the people's bliss, and knowledge, it's inspiring. Thank you for watching. Enjoy the show. And oh yeah, don't forget to follow me on all my social media platforms. Whether you're buying or selling a home, I'm that guy. Let's go! Welcome to Experiences with Sadiq, where communication is key, advocating for the people's bliss, and knowledge, it's inspiring. Today, I have a great guest today. His name is Sam Albert from Circle100. Sam, welcome to Experiences with Sadiq. If you don't mind, Sam, please. Say that again?
So what's going on?
Nah, nothing much, brother, nothing much. I want to say thank you very much for joining the platform. And if you don't mind, my man, please introduce yourself. Tell people who you are, where you came from, and what you're about, brother.
Yeah, so my name is Sam Albert. I'm a realtor here in Rhode Island, primarily focusing in Providence County. I am really big on working with millennials, not just buyers, but sellers as well, and investors. I think investors is really a big part of my business as well. So that's who I am, and I am Providence native. I will represent Providence till I die. I love this city. I think it's changing quickly from developments to the culture to the population and the diversity. I think Providence is just one of those great cities that's often overlooked. But I love the city for sure.
Nah, I totally respect that, my man. So I grew up in Providence as well. I'm Nigerian born. I came to this country when I was 4 years old. So pretty much the city of Providence is all I know. And when it comes to you mentioned the word diversity as you were speaking, and I think that's a very important thing that people should realize is that Providence is very well diverse. We have every possible ethnicity background in this little small state, which I believe makes this small state very unique in its own way, and which I find very pleasing and very satisfying as a whole, because you could be of one culture and you can mingle with someone from another culture, and just seeing basically how each culture basically works. So I think that's really, really cool. But talking about diversity, we know, especially Rhode Island, which Rhode Island is one of those states that has a lot of history behind it when it comes to slavery and a lot of other things, you know. But the thing that I wanted to the thing I wanted to discuss and open up in terms of the dialogue is basically a lot of things have been going on lately in society around the world, should I say, where there's been a lot of systemic. I want to do this. There's been a lot of words, right? Like systemic racism thrown around, systemic oppression thrown around lately, especially due to the brutal murder of the black fella from Minnesota. I believe he's from Minneapolis. Don't quote me out.
Minneapolis, Minnesota. Yep.
Minneapolis, Minnesota. All right. So he was brutally murdered, and it just brought a lot of tension outwards. And one of the things, we both are in real estate, and one of the things that really plays a factor is the oppression part and the racism part, and how generational wealth basically is something that's missing from black people, or people of color, because of the oppression and because of the racism. So I wanted to talk about that. And a lot of people don't know what a black code is. And it's basically something that's been going on. It used to be a big thing in the past and affected a lot of African Americans in the early stages of when black people, Africans, were brought to America and stuff like that. So basically, then allow these individuals to be able to live amongst the white in a certain way, because they were basically restricted from certain things, all right, that white people could do, you know. But it gave black Americans themselves didn't really have an understanding in regards to what they should expect, you know, because with us, generational wealth is something that we really want to develop, but we couldn't develop generational wealth, you know, because of how we were held behind, how we were basically a lot of opportunities wasn't given to Black people as a whole. So
Yeah.
if you don't
Or
mind,
they were
Sam,
even
talk to
taken
me.
away. I think a lot of opportunity was even taken away as well.
A lot of opportunities were taken away, especially when it came to the segregation of Black people. Are you familiar with the Jim Crow law?
Slightly, yeah.
All right, so basically, the Jim Crow law basically was a law that came into place where it basically segregated African Americans, and then give a lot of African Americans the opportunities to be able to establish themselves in in a more promising way, should I say? You know, in real estate, uh, Jim Crow law was one of those things where like a Black person couldn't really have the opportunity to own property. You know, well, they could own property, but it wasn't like to be able to create wealth like the same way a white person could create wealth, right? They weren't allowed to live maybe in a suburban area, you know, because obviously whites and Blacks couldn't mix. They can't have the same education and so forth. So Black people missed that opportunity. How can how do you display the opportunities that a Black person or Black African American person uh, should should analyze in terms of being able to create generational wealth for themselves, knowing that everything stems from the past
All
where
right.
they couldn't build generational wealth.
Right. I think it's hard right now, because I think a lot of what we're going through right now is put into is because it's things are put into place that we don't even know we're here. So it's funny because one of the key words that we talked about before you even got this rolling, before we went on air, was redlining, right? And as I'm thinking about it, I think we also kind of redlined ourselves, right?
That's deep. Break it down.
So we have this what was kind of taught to us, and this is the system that we're talking about. This is the history, right? What was
Yep.
taught to us was go to school, make good money, buy a house, but buy it where? Buy it in the suburbs, right? Away from the black on black crime,
Mm-hmm.
away from the poverty, away from the violence, which is that's our community, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we were taught to um, what's successful, right, in our eyes was pretty much buying a nice property, white picket fence in a suburban area,
Yep.
and then what happens next? We tend to see it get the same place that we were, that we were sleeping, that we were resting our heads, gets gentrified, right?
Mm.
And then my aunt just owned that house, right? My aunt just owned that house, but now it's being developed and turned into um, multiple units where they're tripling the rents.
Mm.
So I think what should be said is we've been taught this wrong approach on what success is, and it's wrong. And I think gentrification is the number one example of that. And it's unfortunate that we feel as though we, we don't value our community enough, and
Mm.
I don't
Deep.
know exactly where that stems from, but it is something that is just embedded in us and was just taught to us, which is pretty unfortunate.
That's very, very interesting. So I guess I'm trying to understand, right, where you're coming from in this and what you were just basically stating. If you could just clarify how I guess the African American community don't value the community enough. You know, I guess I just want to understand what you mean by that.
Absolutely. So gentrification is a perfect example.
Yep.
So we'll experience um, gentrification, but we won't realize that that could have been us. We could have bought the
Woo.
property, right?
Yes. Yep.
We could have built up our own community, but instead we kind of, we we live we're raised in our community, which might not be in the best community. It might not be in the best neighborhood, due to our social economic status of our parents, right? So we're in a middle class to poor neighborhoods, but there's opportunity there, and we don't see the opportunity. But developers come in, and before you know it, they're buying up these distressed properties, they're raising the rents, and they're pushing us out, right? And now we're looking at a community that was once ours, or that was filled with plenty of minority folks, that's been changed into just totally new developments, totally expensive apartments, and it happens all across America, and it happens in a lot of areas in Rhode Island. It's happening in a lot of areas in Providence too.
Mhm.
But in those areas, it's places that we grew up in, and and to think, like, we're taught to go by that white picket fence and nice green grass, but we're forgetting about our own backyards. We're forgetting about the properties that are six or more units, that that kind of um, are is a home for a mother with two kids, right? But then a developer will come in and raise the rent, and now she has to go somewhere else to live, because she can't afford it. But
That's
that
that
yeah, and that should have been we should have been buying that, right? And we should have kept our community.
That's crazy. That's really an interesting analogy, because the way I was looking at it was, especially a lot of the reading that I've been doing, like that Black people, African American people, people of color lost was so segregated, so like, and especially like the oppressions and the racism that they dealt with is so deep rooted in them, right? That I guess because of that, does it make sense? It seems like you're saying that it should have made sense where we should have focused on where we end up being located, where we end up located at, which is basically we were pushed this into the inner city. A lot of African Americans, they ran away, especially in the South. They ran away more so into the city because of what was going on in the South. And living in the city, we should have focused more so developing that, making that ours, versus worry about moving maybe towards the suburbs or anything like that. But I think so many African Americans were just hurt, in terms of what happened. And a lot of that was so deep rooted into the stuff that they went through, that they felt like they deserve, what's theirs, because a lot of African slaves, they helped build this country. You know, they put money into, or they helped build wealth into the white man's pocket, to say, through picking cotton and all that. So a lot of them feel like they have a part in the American world, you know. But you're saying, all right, it seems like you're saying, all right, the past is the past, but we understand where the past was. But in today's day and age, now is now. So in the inner city, since this is our community, we should have built this community up the way we should have, versus letting other individuals come in. Now they're taking the properties, they revamping it, making it look beautiful, doing all this, rents jacked up, and now it seems like people is getting pushed out of that city, where it almost feel like, are we losing that opportunity now?
Right.
You
And
know?
Brooklyn is a perfect example of that. Brooklyn is just insane right now. And it's just like, listen, like, we're going to be left with nothing if we don't learn how to just really invest in ourselves and really
Yes.
focus right here. We're gonna lose out. We really, really are. They're not making any more land. They're not making. There's no more room to make more land. We need to learn how to just really take advantage of it, and really say, you know what, we're going to work on our community. We're going to build up our community.
Yes.
We're going to, rise the values on ourselves by ourselves. So
Yes. Yes. No, that's crazy, because what we felt that they took away from us, we should just, I don't want to say bite the bullet, because I don't think we should bite the bullet, because African Americans has been hurt over the years. But I think where we should try to focus on now is how can we build our community up, you know, without having to feel like gentrification is coming in. And a lot of times, just about all majority of gentrification is coming from the white man, right? They have the capital, people that are wealthy, right? And the black community, we're not as wealthy as the a person who had generational wealth that has a white background, right? So I guess how should people of color go about now being able to, especially not knowing that, especially not having the type of income that someone of a wealthy status has, to come into a city and just buy the property, revamp it, and they make tons of money from it, and then leave out and never set foot in the city, live in the city, doesn't know nothing about the city. How can people of color actually take that opportunity who don't have that same type of wealth status, that same type of generational wealth status? How can they create something that they live in and turn into something better for themselves?
I think we have to work together. So you mentioned something that I think it was in regards to we don't have as much wealth as the white communities or other communities, which is true. But we also the black community as a whole does make up for billions of dollars, and we're just not utilizing it. Even black culture and black industries, hip hop and all of that stuff make up for a huge, huge, huge revenue of just billions of dollars. That's just where is that money? So I think if we can partner and crowdfund and really come together and say, all right, I may not be able to develop this on my own, but let's partner. Let's work together. Let's how do we the more fortunate minorities come together and the business owners and say, let's start a new business. Let's develop. Let's work with the city for any RFPs out there to really develop public housing or affordable housing. It's really just collaborating. We need to collaborate more, because that's what everybody else is doing. That's what developers are doing. Developers they're collaborating. They're working with the city. They're seeing what proposals the city has out there, and they're applying for it. They're bidding for it, and they're getting it. Um, and the 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 community's own members aren't going after it, and we really need to just collaborate more and try to and be more prevalent in the development of our communities.
And I agree with you 100%. I really feel like we should, as a community, be responsible, in terms of amongst each other, in terms of taking what we feel is ours, right? Um, and like it goes back to what you said, building each other up, coming up on the rise, and just basically helping each other get to that top of the ladder, the top of the pool, and becoming
Yeah.
a dominant race where we should. I don't want to say we shouldn't look at the past, but it's almost as if we shouldn't let the past get to us that much. We have things that's here, especially in this inner city community, that we could actually try to revitalize. There's a lot of black successful people also in the urban community. I think it's going to come down to, maybe, like you say, partnering up with not just uh, the city, but like leaders in the community, to figure out, all right, what can we do to turn this community around? What can we do to help our people? What can we do to uplift our people? Because the last thing we want is basically to miss that boat. If you really think about it, especially Spanish people, right? Or Jewish people, right? Spanish people, look at the South Side province. They basically keep everything within their family. They help their family build up, and now they have property all over the place. I remember I spoke to a good friend of mine, Francis, and he was talking about how when they were buying their first property, right? They made sure everybody in the family ended up buying the property, but the way they did that, they basically helped each other out, in their community. And that's basically what I know is with the Spanish community, how they operate. And with the Jewish community, when it comes to finance and all that, they teach each other how to uplift each other, how to get to that next level. And I think as Black community itself, I think that's a direction that we need to come to, and basically find a way to help each other more so, hold on to the past and create wealth through real estate, because that's where it's at. And in order to do that, we need to be able to find those individuals in the community that's willing to partner up and willing to turn less, I guess you want to say, homes that non-desirable homes to desirable homes, and build something where we all can be a part of, But in terms of in regards to you, where do you see Black Americans or people of color? What direction do you see that going to in the near future for people like us?
I think, given the recent events too, I think I will say this. I think with all the protests that's been going on, I can see that even in my own sphere of influence, even with my own friends, I can see that everybody is paying more attention. I think everybody wants change. I know, perfect example was, I think I heard today, Snoop Dogg is voting for the first time this year, right?
Wow.
People are fed up, and I think we're saying, all right, let's use our voices a little more. So I personally see a positive outlook. I think we're powerful. We're more powerful than we believe. Um, and I think I always say this to my friends, and they don't tend to like it. Sometimes there is no excuse, right? So I get it. The way the system is set up is not in our favor. But at the same time, sometimes there is no excuse. Sometimes we have enough resources, we have enough opportunity here, to take advantage of it, and change and kind of change our lives, and change the course of our lives, change the lives of our children, establish generational wealth. I think we have more power than we think, but I know that a lot of people are more aware. I think a lot of people want change, like I said. I can feel a change coming. It doesn't feel like the and we've seen dozens of black men get killed by police. But I think this most recent event or incident feels different. I think there was like 10,000 people in Providence alone. I've never seen that.
On Saturday.
I've never
That's
seen that.
crazy.
And I know this stuff has happened. It's just it hasn't happened in our lifetime. But I've never seen it. And I think our voice is getting louder. And I think that's powerful. I really think it is.
No, I definitely agree with you, and I think African Americans, people of color, have finally realized, all right, this is the time for us to actually use our voice. Our voice is a powerful tool. You
Yeah.
know, what happened to numerous other individuals shouldn't be happening to people of color, just to anybody in general. You know, and I think now is a time where people should start looking at things from um, a positive standpoint, right? I don't want to say what happened in Minnesota, something that needed to happen, but there's a reason why it happened.
Right.
It needed to wake us all up, to understand, like, listen, enough's enough. You know, this is our time now to actually go for what's ours. This is our time now to teach our kids, you know, how to build wealth, what
Right.
to look out for, what to do, what not to do, how to basically move in a society where it can be so cruel, you know. And I think the people definitely have awoken, you know, and the people definitely want to have a voice. The people do want to change,
Yep.
and the way that's going to happen is basically what's going on now. And I want to say what that people who were looting and all that, destroying other people's real estate, other people's property is the right thing, but was it necessary?
Right.
Was it something
Right.
that was needed? You know, but anyways, my man Sam Albert, thank you very much for joining Experiences with Sadiq. If you don't mind, Sam, please talk to the people. Let the people know how to get a hold of you if they have any question regarding real estate, or they just want to just get into your ear and see what type of knowledge you could kick to them.
Well,
Go
yeah.
ahead.
Before I do that, I do want to say one thing. So I
Go
think
ahead.
these conversations are crucial. And we're in the real estate business. We're in the real estate world, and we're in a world where this conversation does not happen often. It just does not happen in real estate for reasons that I don't have to mention, but for plenty of reasons. It's important and crucial that we have these conversations more and more. It's important that we promote ownership within the Black and Brown communities. It's important that we invest in our own communities. It's important that we understand the power of owning land in America. There's I can't remember the exact percentage, but I think it's like 90 something percent of millionaires do so through real estate. Uh,
90 million. 90 million. I just read that too.
yeah,
90 million people, 90% of people are millionaires through real estate one way, shape, or form.
yep, and we need to utilize the same vehicle to just establish wealth. It's not about being rich. It's about just setting up our families to live a better life. I am on Facebook at Sam Albert. I'm on Instagram at Samuel with two L's dot Albert. I'm primarily found on Instagram, but Instagram and Facebook, you can find me there for sure.
No, thank you very much, Sam. Truly appreciate you. You guys hear what you guys and himself, Sam. You guys know what it is. You guys know every time we interview key people, they all don't share you key insight. It's your man Sadiq on Experiences with Sadiq. You guys know where to follow me. I mean, where to find me and follow me on Facebook and Instagram. Until next time, I'll catch you guys. I'll catch up with you guys. Thank you very much, and I'll talk to you guys soon. Sam, enjoy.
Take care.